And guys, some breaking news to tell you about coming out just a few hours ago. Judge Jeanine Pirro, who is now the acting U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C., has announced that a man was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder on Thursday in relation to the fatal shooting of 2 people outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. This is a heartbreaking, tragic story. And Elias Rodriguez is the person who was charged. He's from Chicago. He's also facing federal charges that include murder of foreign officials, causing the death of a person through the use of a firearm, and discharge of a firearm during a crime. Rodriguez was arrested after being apprehended by a museum security guard minutes after the shooting. He's believed to have acted alone, yet this type of behavior, it has been boiling. Anti-Semitism has been boiling in this country, well before October 7th, but certainly after the October 7th attack from Hamas on Israel. Joining us right now is Joel Pollack. He is my friend over at Breitbart, senior editor at large there, and you can give him a follow on social media at Joel Pollack. And Joel, thanks so much for being with us.
Good to be with you.
All right, so let's talk about this story today. We have seen anti-Semitism on college campuses. We have seen it accepted by leftists, even leftist members of Congress who don't seem to have a problem with this. We don't know what ultimately caused Elias Rodriguez to pick up that gun, but he walked up to this young couple who are set to get engaged next week, and he shot them at point blank range. When you hear stories of like this, Joel, what do you think is happening in our country, and what can we do to stop this? Is there anything to stop it?
Sure. You can do exactly what Trump's doing, which is to get rid of the factories that promote this ideology. And those factories are the heavily federally subsidized universities, which are also supported by taxpayers in some places, and to eject foreign students who come here and bring their radical anti-Israel, anti-American ideologies with them. They want to take advantage of our education system. They'll even study in classes taught by Jewish professors, and then they'll turn around and lead encampments on campus that prevent Jewish students from going to class. The answer is exactly what Trump's doing, and then something more, which is that the Jewish community needs to become and is becoming a harder target. There is a huge number of American Jews currently taking firearms classes and taking advantage of their Second Amendment rights in a way that Jews typically haven't done before. Jews tend to be liberal. Jews tend to like to be able to trust the government. That has ended. The Democrat-run cities and the left-run universities have failed the Jewish community over and over and over again. And so American Jews are buying firearms and learning how to use them. And it was just too bad that the people outside of the venue in Washington, D.C. didn't anticipate what was about to happen. We still don't know why security wasn't outside the building. They certainly were inside the building. Those are all questions that have to be asked and answered. But I can tell you that the next person who tries something like that in a synagogue in Los Angeles is going to get their head blown off.
Yeah.
Because people are not standing up for it anymore, or not putting up with it anymore, in the same way that Americans wouldn't put up with airplane hijackings anymore after 9/11. You know, after 9/11, if anybody started acting funny on an airplane, the passengers would tackle him. Mm-hmm. And that's starting to be what happens in Jewish communities. People aren't putting up with it anymore. And yes, people are calling on the government to do more, and they're going to try to get Homeland Security grants for additional security and help from the city and so on, all of which is necessary. But increasingly, people are going to rely on themselves. And it's too bad, because this country thus far has avoided some of the scenes that we see in other countries. When I was a kid and I went to a bar mitzvah in Sweden, we had to pass through almost a passport control. We had to have our IDs checked just to get in. There was a separate building before you were even allowed into the synagogue. And that was before Sweden was full of immigrants from the Muslim world. When I went to Vienna almost 20 years ago, we had to be interviewed by Israeli security before we went into a synagogue in Vienna, because Europe attracts all kinds of anti-Semites and Islamic radicals who would love to blow up a synagogue or kill people inside a Jewish house of worship. We've avoided that here in this country, but it's now happened too often, whether from the right or from the left. And this shooter was a left-wing ideologue based on media reports. It's happened too often in this country, and you're going to see, in fact, in Los Angeles, you do see armed guards outside of synagogues. I've seen them once in a while outside of churches, usually after major shooting events, but the only religious community in this country that has to invest that much in their own security is the American Jewish community. And, that's the reality we face. It's the same in Israel. Israel's surrounded by enemies, so Israel has to invest in its military. And that is the life we have to live.
It's
and
really...
You have to embrace it.
It's so horrible to hear about that.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.